So, right before he ascended, Jesus told his disciples that they should go out to the whole world, evangelizing, teaching, preaching to all they meet. He also said that these signs will accompany them, accompany those who believe. They will be able to drive out demons, speak new languages, pick up serpents, and be able to drink deadly things. Now, I'm not recommending any of those things, except maybe perhaps learning a new language. But I'm certainly not saying pick up deadly snakes or anything like that. Lord knows I don't want to touch those things. But here's the thing. These signs were necessary for the early church. People needed to see these kinds of miracles in order to believe. But this is true of every age, not just the early church. Every generation actually needs signs in order to believe. We hear of all the miracles performed by the saints throughout the centuries. And what we must realize that these miracles continue, even in our day. Padre Pio's great gifts, miraculous healings by saints that amaze doctors who even convert to the faith because of them. Superhuman virtues like Mother Teresa exercising those great strengths of human dignity. Every age are given signs of the miraculous. We are given signs as well, so that we can believe all the more, so that we can be convinced of God's action in our world. Here's the thing. Why do we need to believe? Why are we given these signs so that we can believe all the more? It is because our belief, our faith, is what allows God to work in this world. It was the faith, the belief of the saints that allowed God to work miracles through them. What I mean is that the Lord is a very polite God. He does nothing without our permission. He respects our choice, our free will. And so it is our faith, our saying yes, that allows God to work in our lives and in our world. Think about it from the example of the Bible. It was their lack of faith, their lack of trusting God, that led Adam and Eve to fall from grace. Whereas Abraham's faith in God allowed the Lord to make him the father of so many nations. It was their lack of faith that allowed the Israelites to worship a golden calf in the desert, a thing that they themselves made, rather than worshiping the true God. Whereas Noah's faith in God allowed him and his family to survive the flood. And Mary's faith in the Lord is what allowed the Lord to be born. And his birth is what allowed God to open for us the way back to heaven. And it is the faith of the apostles, as we hear today, that allowed the church to grow throughout the world and to remain all these thousands of years later. Faith allows God to work in our lives and in our world. This feast, therefore, this celebration of the Ascension, advances us. It brings us closer to the Lord because it should deepen our faith in him. And if we have faith in his ascension, if we believe that Christ rose to heaven, then our faith will allow the Lord to work all the much more in our lives. Here's the question, though. Why do we not see this? Why don't we see those signs that the early church saw? Why don't we see the miracles in our own lives? I would like to answer it's probably because we are not doing what the apostles did. When Jesus ascended to heaven, what were they doing? They were looking up. They were looking up to the Lord, up at the sky where they saw Jesus the last. And in a way, their sight never left that vision. They never stopped looking up. Whereas the problem you and I face is that we are always tempted to look down, to look at our own worries, our own concerns. We have a tendency to be watching always our steps and worrying about what we are going to do. We have a tendency to be occupied with worldly matters, anxieties, and concerns that weigh us down. I'm not saying that we don't have legitimate concerns, but sometimes we are looking down so much we forget to believe and to trust, to have faith in God. When was the last time you actually acted on your faith and not on your worries? You see, faith, true faith, is not about trusting that God will answer your prayers. Rather, faith, true faith, is simply saying, I believe. I believe in the Lord. It is what we say every Sunday in our creed. I believe. The literal meaning of I believe is to give the heart. Credo, giving of the heart. I give my heart to this. In other words, give your heart to the truth that God is working in your world and in your life. Have faith in that, and the worries will take care of themselves. So, what the Lord is asking of us is to have faith in him. That is to believe in him. That is to give our hearts to him. It is then that we will see all of God's work in the world. It is then that we will see all the riches of God's glory working in our world, and even more so in our lives.